Hello reviewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're gonna talk about LG CX55. You're looking at it, or this puppy. So let's dive right into it. So at this point in time, this would be one of the most expensive investment I did on my channel. My YouTube channel is my full-time job. Do not freak out. This channel is a secondary channel. Like, first channel is on Hindi based, that has already crossed 100k, and this channel is also growing at a remarkable pace. So I wanted to invest a bit more on this channel. So this TV, when I was buying it, I had two main goals in my mind. This is supposed to be a good for presentation and good for entertainment. So that was the two things. And because how things are, many times you buy technical things, like for example mobile phone, it's like you buy it, 2 years later you change it. Now these puppies are so expensive. Even the cheapest one would be so expensive that would be like, yeah, I cannot keep replacing it like every 2 years or 3 years when new technology comes out. So this is supposed to be stable for long term, as in like as long as possible, not be just like bare minimum, buy bare minimum as possible and then replace it as soon as can. So that was a different requirement, and it has to suit my needs. Be very mindful. I see way too many people making mistakes, not because they bought a bad product, simply because they bought a product based on someone's recommendation or someone's he or she say so. You should buy product based on your needs. So that's why my needs are presentation and entertainment. Now I bought this puppy LG CX 55 inch. The lowest it goes, LG CX series, is 44 inch. Highest I think it goes very high. Now be mindful, you can buy BX also if you want to save money. The reason I bought CX is simply because it has 10 to 25% more brightness, and it costed me 1.45 lakhs. You can easily get it 1.35 lakhs in Flipkart. So this is what we are talking about here. Now, because of the caliber of this TV, I'm damn sure that if you want this TV, you're gonna be happy with it, but you have to know some side effects right off the bat. Basically, if you know this, you can work around it. So first thing is, OLED has limited lifespan. So I do not buy this TV expecting that I'm gonna use this TV like 10 years from now. I do not expect this puppy to last that long. And even if it has the technology to last that, it has, let's say, 10,000 ways of preventing burn-ins and all that, just the psychological factor will always be there. And the sole reason I can even dare to buy this is simply because I already used my first OLED phone, and it was a very basic Samsung M30, very basic OLED, and I used it for 2 years. I had a running clock, what you call animation on it, which was like always there. So 100% of the screen on time, the clock was there, but after 2-3 years it was not, there was no burn in. So I got a understanding that modern OLEDs can last a very long time. This is like, I think, third generation in terms of technology, and like sixth generation in terms of manufacturing. So at this point in time, most manufacturers have figured out how to make OLED last longer. For example, having a red subpixel, which are generally most prone to burnout, they made the subpixel itself bigger, so it can last much longer. And there are like pixel shift technology and like many things. The same way how SSDs used to have 10,000 issues, then manufacturers worked around it to solve it. Same happened with OLED. So on principle, on paper, unless you are doing something stupid like running news channel 24/7 on a maximum brightness on an outdoor environment, bar, pubs, things of that nature, this puppy should last very long time. However, even in that sort of scenario where I'm protecting this puppy, it's not gonna last 20 years. I'm not expecting that kind of thing. So that is one shortfall. Then we come to another aspect. This puppy has kind of lower maximum brightness, as in this puppy can only reach 700 nits, and if you pay this much, you can easily buy TV that can easily go up to 1000 plus nits. Now that is not too much of a difference, because 700 to 1000 may sound big on paper, and realistically your eye would be like it's a 1/4 of a stop brighter, but people do want 1000 nit when you are buying something like this. So that may be a pissing off factor. And specifically, if you're buying this TV to put in any place where you have windows or things of that nature, do not buy this TV. You will be resentful for the rest of your life, simply because this puppy is not very bright, and it's also a bit shiny, so that reflection issues becomes idiotically bad. However, if you are jumping from a very old TV, like my old TV that was here before this puppy, that only goes to 500, so 700 is more than good enough. But people are like, I want bonkers kind of brightness. Do not buy this. Buy QLED or nano cell if you are in that kind of scenario. You have like giant window. I do not know how LG can even dare to show that. If you had this, yeah, good luck. And then we comes to the most frustrating part. All these things are something it has weird firmware. Like for example, you can easily pay attention. This is one thing that I have to deal with, is that LG tries to do its best to protect its OLED. It's like and sometimes it's a bit too over what you call cautious. So consequence of that is like it has like auto backlight dimming. So for example, this static image, if I left it, slowly the brightness will go down. Now again, that's unlikely to affect anyone. If you're utilizing this monitor, there is no weird fluctuation and all that jazz, so that will not affect anything. But be mindful if you're like trying to like me. I can guarantee you, it's like if you watch any of videos, my videos that I have shot in this TV, you will notice, hey, wait a minute, why the heck a monitor directly went down? That happens. It has auto dim and I cannot turn it off. So it has many features like that. So it's kind of hassle to deal through that. Again, it does not affect movie viewing experience. If I had that, it would have been returned instantaneously, but it's only when I'm doing static images and only in certain scenarios. So if I leave this static image, let's say 15-20 minutes, it will go down in brightness. And that's why I said be mindful what you're buying. If you're running a static stream images most of the time, this is not for you. So these are the faults. Now you may be like, those are big faults, why would anybody buy that? Well, this is OLED. That's the reality of it. You can buy LED, you can buy mini LED, and you can buy OLED. At the end of the day, OLED will still have better contrast than anything out there in the market. The simple reason is black is actually black. To give you a context to that, think of it this way. A comic industry generally has a stage known as inking, where they ink the whole goddamn thing. So basically they will have somebody who's draw the outline, somebody who does the painting, and then the last person would be like ink the every damn thing, and that's what makes things pop out. Marvel did try to experiment one time. They removed the ink. It looked bland, like it was masterfully done. It was just black because black was not there. Same happens on TV. You can go all bonkers as you want, but as long as like light is physically emitting out of places that's supposed to be black, it will not have the contrast. So you can have brightness that are like, I have 10,000 nits brightness, does not mean anything because the black is not black. So inherently contrast is limited. So that's why you will never see any OLED manufacturer talk about contrast. They're like, dude, we infinite contrast. So that's why even low brightness of 700 nits is more than good enough, because there is a 0 point in this. And then we come to epic viewing angles. Now that's not a big deal, but for me it was simply because I wanted to utilize the camera. And if you compare this screen to older one, you can easily see, you can read much more of this, much more fine details are visible, much more pictures are visible. So it matters, and I can look from this far out and I can still read it properly. While modern LCDs and nanocells and QLEDs they are much better, but they are still to a point where it's like, if you are talking about a home theater setup like this puppy, you can have 3 to 4 people sitting in the center point, and you're like, the last person, like, of course it will not be as bad as like VA panel as used to be early 2000s, but it still would be like, not as good. OLED is like, don't even worry about it. And then we come to one very interesting fact. It has very fast switching. Now what does that mean? That simply means if you run it for let's say 120 fps, there will not be any smearing, like unless you buy idiotically expensive LCD technology, which are used in very high-end gaming monitor, which would cost almost same as this in India specifically, where it's like running at 300 hertz. You will notice that it smears a lot. So if you have a high-speed camera, you will notice that yes, it's showing every frame, but there is a giant smear pattern behind it, and that does not happen with OLED, because OLED switches very quickly. And the most amazing use for this technology is 3D. The reason why 3D was like giving such a bad reputation in home environment is simply because you had that monitor, basically a display technology. It's supposed to show you something that is running at, let's say, 24 frames per second. So it interpolated that puppy to 30 frames per second, then showed at 60 frames per second, left eye 30 frames per second, right eye 30 frames per second. But because of the smearing, the quality that you are getting out of that display was not very good. Now people who got the early generation of OLED 3D, they were like, no, 3D is good, but everybody else are like, dude, 3D is garbage. And that's why 3D is no longer present in the home market. And it's kind of ironic, because this puppy can do much more better 3D than any other old technology, and I can't still buy 3D. So that does suck, but again, 3D is died out so at this point in time. So that's why no smearing does help a lot. So even if you can buy, let's say, LCD monitor that is like 200 hertz, but let's say it has much worse smearing effect than this puppy, you will enjoy playing in this, not in that, simply because you can see things clearly. Now let's talk about the features. Now this is where this puppy earns its money. Basically, flat out, when it comes to bang for buck, this puppy is one of the best available in India. Yes, there are other options available abroad, but in my location, on a brand that I can trust, that if something bad happens, they can come and actually try to repair it or try to replace it or do something with it. I had to buy LG. So because the last one was also LG, and we did had a bad power factor which destroyed the power supply, and a very old TV, like warranty was long out. They came, they replaced the damn thing. So we are happy with that. Again, they did charge us money, but it's like at least it was repairable. And investing this kind of money, I want that. If you may be like, hey, why didn't you buy TCL or like other options that are like almost gives the same technology? Heck, even it may have the same panel from LG itself. I will not still buy that because I need that trust factor where it's like, no, is the service center nearby? Is there some place I can call? Because this is a work investment. I need this puppy to be 24/7. So LG matters a lot in that regard. Now this puppy is 4K. Now you may be like, what about 8K? Does not matter. The jump from SD to HD was huge. HD to 4K not as huge. 4K to 8K, point of diminishing return. Basically, yes, you can upgrade it. Yes, your file sizes will quadruple or 8 times. It will go bonkers. You will need new encoding basically file system. Otherwise, no streaming platform can handle that. Like H266 or VP9 platforms. Like you need new video codecs to handle 8K properly. Is there anything that runs in 8K? No, flat out no. Heck, here's the deal. Most things are still not in 4K. You can go into Netflix, pay the highest subscription package available, just search by 4K. Now here's the funny thing, why is there search by 4K? It should not be there. Everything should be in 4K. It's not. Most of the movies are not in 4K. Most of the movies, like unless they're shot very recently, they are mastered in 2K, which is a fancy way of saying Full HD. So unless I think Quantum recent James Bond was like kind of mastered in 4K. Some, of course, Endgame and these big budget movies, they are mastered in 4K, but most are not. Now people are switching to it. Basically movies, let's say, that are made after 2015. So we are not in a position where it's like, oh, everybody is jumping to 8K. No, people are jumping to 4K now. And you can easily notice that most TV channels are still in India specifically, most of them are still HD. Heck, there are few that just actually has a SD equipment. They stretch the image to full HD status. So flat out 4K is at this point in time reaching its prime. More and more contents are coming in 4K, and the moment you apply another filter on 4K, that is HDR, you will find that surprisingly few content exist. And I'm talking 3 of the biggest platform out there. One is Netflix, obviously. Second is Amazon Prime. Third is Disney Plus. Now Disney Plus is not available in India. It's indirectly available through what we call Disney Hotstar Plus. Now it sucks simply because the Dolby content is not available in India through most of the applications. Basically, you can buy LG TV, it will not work. You can buy Sony TV, it will not work. You can buy Samsung TV, it will not work. You can buy one like I think an Nvidia Shield, then it has the handshake and like somehow it decodes that. Now it's not an issue with the TV manufacturer, issue with Hotstar, because people have bought this TV abroad and utilize Disney Plus. They are getting amazing experience, and they are just like setting me on fire. It's like, look, I'm like look, Loki and Disney Disney star Disney, I'm saying basically Dolby Signal handshake and all that is happening. So be mindful. At this point in time, 4K is reaching its prime. HDR now starting to be implemented. So this TV is as future-proof as it can be. Now this has 4 HDMI 2.1. Now that simply gives me a lot of flexibility. I can run one powerful gaming PC, another equipment regarding that like console, and another equipment like basically audio receiver, because you have to utilize eARC to feed footage from this, basically audio from this to that. That's why having 4 ports that run at maximum situation, you are not limited by it, because it was a serious limitation in many other TVs that are similar price, where you could be like, hey, I bought this TV, but I can only utilize one plug. So you have to buy a receiver that is like idiotically more expensive, and that has like ports where it's like, okay, I can plug my console, I can plug my Blu-ray player, I can plug all those things. So that's a very small thing, but it is a very amazing thing that you have 4x in terms of 2.1. Then this puppy is rated for Dolby Cinema. What does that mean? That simply means it has Dolby Atmos, the super easy, but Dolby Vision, which is a bigger brother of HDR. And that's why I said at this point in time 4K is rare. 4K Dolby mastered content, only few shows are there. And heck, for example, you can watch Lucifer, I like that, and only the last few seasons are 4K HDR. You go to very back, it's not HDR. So that's why I specified. Now this has the Dolby handshake, which is very impressive for such a low price. So all those things are, I can get the most amazing basically movie experience possible. Then we come to high refresh rate. For this kind of price, 4K at 120 FPS. That means if tomorrow I have to buy my computer, because my computer is outdated as hell, I'm running AMD Bulldozer. That's how old this is. So if I have to buy a new computer, of course it will have the horsepower to drive 4K at higher refresh rate than 60. This goes to 120 FPS, and because it does not have smearing, I can actually see things clearly. So that's amazing. And because of the high refresh rate, if I'm playing any sightseeing game, there will be frame tips. This can handle that also. It has variable refresh rate technology, aka G-Sync and FreeSync, so I don't have to worry about it. And then it also has the color space of BT2020, which is more than good enough. Now, if you have paid attention to this, the screen has already went dim. It should translate to being more easier to read. So that's the annoying thing. It's like, for static images, this TV hates static images. It's like, no, I shall not have static. See, the brightness will go up the moment I change the slide. Tada! So that's why I specified firmware hits it. Now, does that happen when I'm watching movie? Hell no. Does that happen anytime, anything other than this exact situation? No. That's why I have not written that. Now, all that issues, all that features, it would be useless if it did not have the picture quality. Now, this is where I can say, at this point in time, this TV is so good that yes, you can spend more money, but only thing you can buy tangibly is bigger, aka I can buy bigger monitor than this, or I can buy brighter. Basically, there is Sony, that is the people like, oh, Sony is so amazing, so amazing. Again, it times like 4 times more than this price, and does not even have half the technology needed for this. Like, yeah, the panel is amazing. LG panel is there. It's like, Sony uses LG panel, yes. Then how the heck Sony can have higher brightness than what LG themselves offer? What LG is doing is basically cost competitive. It's like, can you afford this? And that's why Samsung gave up on OLED. Samsung is very huge in OLED. How the heck they gave up on that? Simply because people are not buying it. So LG did a lot of cost cutting on that. Now what Sony did is like, how can you beat LG itself? If LG is doing cost cutting, they're like, what if we go in the other direction? We make it more expensive, more luxurious. And they introduced a metal backing on this giant panel. Do not worry, my UPS is the issue. So HDR, now I'm running on Windows HDR. So giant metal panel. That's why that same OLED panel that you could find in other LGs versus you can find in Sony could be running on much higher luminance value, simply because there is a giant metal heat sink to it. So I can buy bigger monitors, I can buy brighter displays, but other than that, I can't buy anything which will look better than this, which will run at higher refresh rate than this. Yes, it can run higher than 120 FPS, but again, point of diminishing rate. Yes, I can buy 8K, point of idiotically diminishing returns. So that's the whole thing. And one of the things that really makes this shine for me is that I'm utilizing in my dark room. Basically, there is one light source here. If I turn this off, there is complete blackness. Like the windows are not directly connected to outside world. Like there is a room, that room has windows. So if I close the door, no light here. This time, no windows. That side, windows are there, but that is in the veranda. So we do not have any direct light source there. So if I close everything, I am in the dark room. That's why I did not worry about the brightness here. I knew about this before I bought this. So I get amazing experience when I'm watching movies in this. Like watching Snyder Cut in this puppy, it's on a different level. Let me be clear about that. And that's the whole thing. I can't buy anything that can exceed in terms of quality. Yes, I can buy, oh, it has this feature better or that feature better. Like, nah. It's like, yeah, bigger or brighter, that's it. And future proofing is already done. I really like the fact that it has 4K 120 FPS, which is really good. Surprisingly few TV still has that. The fact that it has 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, which are really useful, and the fact that it has Dolby handshake, which is really important because now it's coming in. Like Jupiter's Legacy was recently mastered in that. Why I'm saying recently? It's a new show, but it was directly mastered for that. I can see that. And Disney Plus, they are remastering many of their old content into Dolby Vision. My TV's already got this. It's like I feed the content, the TV is like, I got this, man, don't worry about it. So it's very future proofed, as in I'm expecting 5 years of good life out of this. Now again, unless something bad happens or I hit up what you call panel and lottery, I could get a bad panel. But flat out, I have seen footage. I have seen like many of my relatives have this size of TV or even bigger than this. OLED, nano cells, not OLED, as in QLED. Flat out, those are good. Under no circumstances I will say bad. Those are good, but this better. So flat out, the moment I talk about picture quality, this is like, there is no contest here. It's like all the issues that this puppy has, you will happily accept it. A, if you knew about it beforehand. B, if you know what it is. So in my case, if I get 5 years of usable experience out of this puppy without any major issues and all that jazz, and hopefully Hotstar will fix the basically issue, then I'm gonna be really happy with this, because Amazon Prime does have some HDR content and Netflix does have a lot of Dolby Vision content. I'm very happy with this. So this was my presentation on basically my current TV. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst a friend. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.